Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of WIN TV, Washington Informer News. I'm your host, Denise Rolark Barnes, and we have a very, very special program for you this afternoon. And I guess you can tell because of the photograph behind me. I got my dad on, let's do it the other way. My dad on, well, anyway, you know what I'm saying. My dad on one side, Frederick Douglass on the other. So I got my backup today. This is a great day because we are celebrating the 56th anniversary of the Washington Informer newspaper. So we've got a lot to share with you. We want to make sure that you stay tuned at the end of the show when we talk about sounds of the DMV at HR Records and so much more. But anyway, I always like to start each week by saying, whoo, this is our current issue of the Washington Informer, and I hope you've picked up your copy or checked out our digital edition online at washingtoninformer.com. And like I said, anytime you can, tell your friends about the paper, follow us on social media. We need your support. So, and I want to thank all of you all who have been so supportive of us over the last 56 years. We're going to talk a lot more about that and bring on some folks who made this newspaper happen. I don't do it alone. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. So let me jump into the show right now. So this is the 2020 election is 18 days away. Can you believe it's that close? And I know some of us cannot wait to get this over. And I hope those of you that are in that position are doing so because you voted. But voter registration in DC is closed. However, you can still register and vote in person. Every registered voter in DC should have received a ballot. So please contact the Board of Elections if you have not received your mail-in ballot, or email us at news@washingtoninformer.com, because we certainly would like to talk to you to find out, did you want a mail-in ballot? Did you not get one? We want to help you to make sure that the process works for you. Early voting in the district begins on October 27th. And in Maryland, the last day to request a mail-in ballot is October 20th. I know I'm throwing a lot of dates out, and we should have a little graph for you, but you can listen to this later and get more information. But in Maryland, the last day to request a mail-in ballot is October 20th, and early voting begins on October 26th. And in Virginia, you must request a mail-in ballot by October 23rd. In the district, all of us got a ballot. Maryland, you have to request a ballot. Virginia, you must request a ballot. And in Virginia, you must request your ballot by October the 23rd. And as we reported a few weeks ago, early voting has already begun. You've seen those long lines, and I want to praise everyone who got up early, who stood in line for hours to cast your ballot. You will make a difference in this upcoming election. So please, we can't stress enough, your vote is your voice, and it really does matter. So a few months ago, I met with a few of my Black publishers from around the country, and we realized that even though we're in different cities, we have some of the same issues, and all of us are trying to tackle police reform, economic empowerment, racial issues, and education issues. The only thing that is separating us is our geographic locations, because we're all Black-owned newspapers. We serve a Black readership. And so we are coming together in a collaboration called Word in Black with some local news stories on what you've just heard that we're going to amplify nationally. And we want to thank our publishers, Eleanor Tatum of the New York Amsterdam News in New York, who came up with this idea, and Sonny Messiah Giles of the Houston Defender in Houston, Texas, who's also a part of this collaborative of 10 Black leading newspapers to address the issues, to amplify our voice as a community at a local and national level. So coming up, we will have Chris Bennett, publisher and editor of the Seattle Media Newspaper Group in Seattle, Washington. And it's such an honor, Chris. You had me on your show earlier today, and so now we're changing tables, and I'm so glad to have you with us.
Yeah, we're reversing roles right now, but Denise, I'm very honored to be on this program with you today. I'm always honored to be able to let people know that Denise Rolark Barnes is a friend of mine, and the Rolark family is a friend of the Bennett family, which goes back 2 generations. We're both second generation publishers. And, that's important in today's world. But more importantly, before I even get started with that, I want to congratulate you guys on your 56th anniversary. These are some trying times in a very tough industry. I don't know if the general public understands how tough and competitive the media space is right now, but it's highly competitive. And this is some tough times. And the people of Washington, D.C. area are fortunate to have a publication like yours that continues to serve your people by telling our stories the way that nobody else can. Nobody's going to save us but us. Nobody's going to tell the stories but us. And we can't rely on other people to tell our stories and our narratives, because we know that they will be missing facts and will get distorted. But the Washington Informer tells the story to people in the Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area each and every week. And it certainly has an impact across this country as you guys influence the policymakers there in D.C.
Thank you so much, Chris. And I want people to know, we've got the newspaper. We're utilizing, Facebook or YouTube to bring this show, which we did as a result of the COVID-19 virus. This is how this program launched. But the Seattle Medium Newspaper Group, I'm just amazed. You all are what 4, 5 newspapers, 3 radio stations. Tell our viewers what you all are doing out there on the West Coast.
Yeah, we have 4 newspapers and 3 radio stations serving the Seattle, Tacoma, and Portland, Oregon markets. And my father founded the organization in 1970, so we're in our 50th year of operation, which, a lot of people, especially in DC, they might look and say, wait, they had a black newspaper out there in Seattle 50 years ago. But the other thing is that, no matter where you are across this country, there are issues. There are racial issues. The issues are the same, whether it talks about education and the academic achievement or lack of academic achievement of our kids, the resources that are applied to education. When we talk about police reform, economic empowerment, healthcare disparities, voter suppression. Voter suppression doesn't just take place in the Deep South back in the Jim Crow era. Voter suppression happens all across this country every day up until now. And, one of the other things that, people might find enlightening is that the city of Seattle has the oldest NAACP chapter west of the Mississippi, which tells you that we've been dealing with racism for a long time.
It's amazing. And I want our viewers to know that if they want to know what's going on in Seattle and they're getting a bit frustrated with the CNNs and the MSNBCs and all that, they can come directly to you. Share your website with us again.
Yeah. Denise, we're at our website address is seattlemedium.com. That's medium like in small, medium, large. So it's seattlemedium.com. And while I'm on that point, Denise, I want to encourage people in the DC area and across this country to make sure that they subscribe to the Washington Informer or the Black Press affiliate in their area. But more importantly, the Washington Informer needs your support. The Seattle Medium newspaper needs your support. I can go down to a whole list of papers that need your support, but you can support them by subscribing to their publication, picking up their publication on a weekly basis, telling other people about their publication, and referring to stories that you read in the Washington Informer and telling people, oh, I saw this in the Washington Informer. Did you know X, Y, and Z? Those things help us in ways that you can't even imagine. So it's the little things that make a difference, but it's more about a community effort. So I just wanted to make that plug. Subscribe to the Washington Informer newspaper, pick it up on a weekly basis and share it with others.
I love this, from Washington to Washington. It's fantastic. And so, this it's amazing. COVID-19, we've been working together somewhat over the years because we're all members of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, the oldest trade association of Black-owned newspapers in the country. But now a group of us have come together and with a new collaborative called Word in Black. And I'm excited about this collaboration, but tell our viewers what it means to you.
I am very excited about Word in Black. This is a collaborative of 10 leading Black newspaper publishers across the country that are, we've looked at the issues are the same, as I mentioned, all across the country. The geographic location is different. Some of the players are a little different. And we've come together to have a collective voice as we address issues like education, police reform, voter suppression. We're all addressing these same issues locally, but it's important for us to collectively shine a national spotlight on these issues so they can be the topic of serious discussion in DC, in Los Angeles, in Chicago, in New York. But more importantly, these discussions take place around the workplace, dinner tables, churches, social events all across the country, because once people talk about the issues and can understand the issues, they will ultimately take progressive action. And that's why we've come together in order to properly frame the narrative from our perspective of African Americans in our community across this country that foster solutions to the racial inequities that exist in America and have existed for far too long.
I love it. I love it. And so we're here today because we want to share an event that we're co-hosting on Tuesday night, which is our Word in Black event on voter suppression. And I know that we have a great lineup for that event. And we will be sort of in the background enjoying the conversation and being motivated, inspired by it. But again, could you share that with us?
Right. Yeah, we've got our first live virtual event as a collective. I don't even, and it's a national virtual event as well. It's called Voting with a Purpose. It's put together by Word in Black, the 10 Black newspapers. You know, the Black press was founded on the principles of wishing to plead our own cause, meaning that we want to tell our own story and secure our own plight. And certainly in this case, we are encouraging people to engage in one of the pillars of our democracy that's been denied to us for way too long, and that is the right to vote. And that's why we're having this event. You know, it's right in front of a very important election. We have a panelist of 7 esteemed Black leaders for an even a conversation of voting with a purpose, because definitely it's not enough to just get out there and say, let's just go vote and encourage people to vote. You know, there's far too many people out there who are in the position right now, Denise, who are trying to make a decision about whether or not they are going to vote. They're not making a decision about who they're voting for. They're trying to make a decision on whether or not they're going to vote. And for too many people, they're given reasons why they should not vote or why they can't vote, and spreading that to others. Much like COVID-19 is spreading across the country, they're spreading the same virus in our community, encouraging other people not to engage in voting, which is the last thing we should be doing. But certainly when you talk about this panel of experts, I'm certainly excited. This is going to be held next Tuesday, October 20th at 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to have on the panel Bakari Sellers, who's an attorney and CNN political commentator, Susan Smith Richards, CEO of the Center for Public Integrity, Dr. Ben Chavis, President and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, Kristen Clark, President and Executive Director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, Wes Moore, the CEO of the Robin Hood Foundation, Lee Chapman, Director of the Voting Rights Program, and Nolan Williams, a composer, producer, music director, and innovator. And he's got a video. If you haven't seen that inspiring video, you need to check it out, because he's a very dynamic person in this presentation and talking about voting. Denise, as you can tell, I'm very excited. I'm a person who votes regularly. It's ever since I turned 18, and I have never been so inspired by a group of panelists to talk about voter suppression, voting with a purpose, because certainly we need to vote with purpose and intent. You know, the purpose is to help elect people who are going to improve the quality of life for African Americans all across this country. And the intent is to send a message that we as African Americans are still a pillar in American politics, that we matter, that we're important, and that our voting block is the largest voting block that people should be concerned about, regardless of what other voting block they want to pander to.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
You've got to come through the African American community if you want to get elected from a local perspective, where it's on the city council or an alderman, or if you want to become president or vice president of the United States. And we need to send that statement strong and loud that you need to come to the African American community if you want to be elected. And that we'll see the narrative change as it relates to the issue of racial issues and racial unrest that's being injected into politics today.
Chris, thank you so much. I mean, you put it all out there. You did a great job, and hopefully your folks were as inspired as I think our people are on this end by encouraging them to watch on Tuesday, and also to subscribe to our respective publications and to keep the Black press alive. I just want to say quickly, one of our viewers, Terry Schlickenmeyer, you know Terry that does the book reviews for Intimate, she's online, and
hey,
sent
Terry.
a comment. She wanted to tell you hi. and give you a shout out. So I wanted to acknowledge her as well.
All right.
So have a great day. Have a great weekend. I'll probably be on a call with you later on today.
Yeah.
And
D-
thank you
Denise,
so much for being
Denise,
with us.
Denise, one last thing.
Sure.
People talk about Black Lives Matter. I want to take it a little step further and say Black matters. Black lives matter. Black publishers matter. Black newspapers matter. The Black community matters, especially when it comes to the Black vote, and the Black vote matters. Goodbye.
All right. See you later. Thanks so much. Chris Bennett, publisher of the Seattle Medium newspaper in Seattle, Washington. Check it out anytime you go to Seattle, or check him out online and tell him you heard about him here at the Washington Informer. So moving on, this is just a time of celebration. And I am, everything gets me excited. So I'm also excited that we're celebrating the 49th anniversary of the DC Black Repertory Theater Company, DC Black Repertory Theater, and all the folks who are with the Alumni Association. And so the event will be taking place this Sunday, October the 18th. Of course, everything is virtual. So I'm really proud to have Lynn Dyson and Dr. Rhonda, I think, are here with us to talk a little bit about the event on Sunday, and to share kind of what's happened with the DC Black Rep. I know I'm proud to know that you're honoring Dr. Rolark, but that you're also honoring its founder, Robert Hooks, Sweet Honey in the Rock, Charles Oggins, Michael Hodge. Lynn, Reverend Rhonda, welcome to WIN TV.
Thank you. I'm excited. It was the first time I've heard about WIN TV, but now I'm actually on it. And a happy anniversary, 56 years. My goodness.
Yes, yeah.
That's wonderful.
You.
That's quite a phenomenal feat.
Hey, well, you're just a couple, the DC Black Rep is just a couple years behind. It just shows what was going on in DC, in the late, mid to late 60s, early 70s. This was a community that was really inspired by people to really create institutions and to make a difference.
Well, you all are still doing it. The DC Black Rep, the formal DC Black Rep, closed many years ago, but because they did such a great job in instilling us, you think it's still alive, but it is still alive through us,
Yes.
And that's why the Alumni Association is now gathering things back up and getting the energy going and putting on shows and all of that. So congratulations to you all for staying at the grindstone day after day after day after day. But because we have the infused energy in us, the legacy lives in us, it's just being awoken again.
Reverend Rhonda, welcome to you too as well.
Thank you.
You were one of the star performers with the DC Black Rep, and I've heard your story. I saw the interview that was done on NBC Channel 4. Yeah. And you talked a lot then about the fact that, you have very, very qualified, stellar performers, but who just didn't get an opportunity, and the Black Rep provided that opportunity. You want to share that with us?
Well, the congratulations, first of all, on your anniversary. So many years of love and dedication and courage. So I commend you and the paper and everything that you're doing and have been doing. And we thank you for having us on today.
Sure.
During one of the things that Lynn just talked about in terms of what we got in DC, which was called Chocolate City back then.
Yes, it was.
We got an education in history and culture from being in the theater, and particularly the DC Black Rep, about our history and who we were and what we came from, so that we were able to walk around as free Black people, as artists, and knew that our commitment to life was to teach and educate our people, and consequently everyone else, about who we were and where we came from. When I went to other places like California and New York, people didn't have the same kind of commitment and dedication and understanding of who we were as a people. So we got a really, really strong foundation, which helped all of us to commit to keeping our culture and history alive through the arts. acting many times, going to auditions and not getting roles had nothing to do with our talent.
Right.
And people weren't telling our stories. And we were able to do Shakespeare and classical other kinds of theater, which we were trained in. However, our stories weren't being told. And so places like the DC Black Rep, the Negro Ensemble Company, New Federal Theater, honed a family environment for us to build community and tell our stories, much like what you have been doing with the Washington Informer, telling our stories ourselves. And
you know, one thing the Black Rep did was to bring Georgia Avenue alive too. So I remember just being being in the community. I thought that was really great. Lynn, tell us what's going to happen on Sunday night.
Wow, where do I begin? Keeping the legacy alive, not only within ourselves, but letting the world know that these were great people, are great people, and they've made a great contribution, and we have to celebrate them. Of course, Robert Hooks is Robert Hooks Day. The city embraced him 2 years ago with Mayor Bowser declared Robert Hooks Day. Ono Holmes Norton had it read into the congressional records, city council. He developed, co-founded the Negro Ensemble in New York, the group theater platform there. When you talk about opportunities, Denzel Washington or Samuel Jackson, they wouldn't have been discovered if they didn't have a consistent platform to perform.
Right.
You know, white agents and producers and directors sit in the audience, and they're going to come and see that show, and that show's going to run 4 weeks.
Right.
So on that schedule, they're going to finally get there and see them perform. And as a result, they get these big movie roles because that was a consistent platform. So he did that there. He did it here in D.C. Your Lynn Whitfield, you know, where would she be today if it wasn't for Robert Hooks? So that's so we're honoring him. And then, of course, we're moving into honoring Mike Hodge, who brought SAG and AFTRA together, Charles Organs, who we know him as a Broadway performer, but his real work is work with those young kids at Duke Ellington School of the Arts. And of course, your father, the one and only Dr. Calvin Rolark. So, and you say, well, what does he have to do with theater? Well, we have a legendary community award, and he was the power behind so many Black organizations. So that's why we're honoring him.
So thank you. We're running up on time now, but the
time
Sunday, we can watch it digitally or online. And where would we find it?
You would go to Eventbrite, DC Black Rep, Black 49th, or you would go to our website, www.mmtidc.org. I don't know if you can put it on the screen, but this is a virtual event. So it's www.mmtidc.org. And that's this Sunday coming from 6 to 8 p.m.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank both of you all for joining us. Thank you for celebrating 49 years, keeping Black theater alive. We appreciate you.
And happy 56.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Speaking of anniversaries, can you believe it? 25 years ago, over 1 million Black men met at the U.S. Capitol on the Shore of Unity. It was the Million Man March. And the primary organizer of that event was none other than Dr. Benjamin Chavis, who we've mentioned earlier today because he is president and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. We're going to talk about the Million Man March in just a minute. But first, we want to do this reflection, share this reflection from Hamil Harris, reporter of the Washington Informer, but who was reporting for the Million Man March for another publication, and we have his reflections.
It's hard to believe that the Million Man March was 25 years ago. And every 5 years, there are remembrance of that historic moment. Nation of Islam leader, the minister Louis Farrakhan, called for the march, but in the years that passed, it has become a movement for men and women of many faiths. I will never forget the challenge that Minister Farrakhan made and told men to repeat, to say your name, and to promise to take responsibility to your wives, your children, and your families. And many men did do that. They became greater leaders in their communities through organizations and other means. For me, it meant being a better father. It meant being a servant. It meant taking part in events and covering stories, whether it was the Boy Scouts, the Masons, or even in academics. But the challenge of the Million Man March is far from over. There's still much work to do, and that's the thing that I will never forget, to be a humble servant as well as a journalist. I've come to Washington for a purpose, and while the mall is empty today, the work continues in theater and other aspects of life. So we can't forget, whatever we do, it's about giving back to other people. As a journalist, James Wright and myself and others, we know our mission thanks to great leaders like Denise Rolark Barnes. But again, this world is not complete until we fulfill the mission that was put in our hearts in events like the Million Man March. Because we are men, Black lives do matter, and we have a lot of work to do in this generation. And so on this 25th anniversary of the Million Man March, yes, protests will continue as long as there's oppression against our people. But at the same time, we can't forget what's most important, those who are closest to us. We've lost people like George Wilson and other great journalists, but thank God we have others who are still with us, like Askil Muhammad, like Roy Lewis, the photographer. And so for me on this day, I will never forget the Million Man March, but I know there's work to do. And thank God for the women who served. And thank God for this brotherhood, be it the Nation of Islam or Christians. Again, Minister Farrakhan issued a call, but that call went beyond all of us. From Representative Elijah Cummings to Supreme Court Associate Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we have lost so many people, but now we must continue that legacy in whatever field we serve, because others are coming behind us. To me, that is the spirit of the Million Man March. And for the Washington Informer, I'm Hamil Harris.
We thought that was an amazing piece that Hamil pulled together, and we're getting comments from all over, reflections. And if you have reflections that you'd like to share, we have a location where you can share those. But I'm so glad to have Dr. Benjamin Chavis on with us for a few minutes today. Dr. Chavis, welcome to WIN TV.
Thank you. It's good to be here. And I thought that was a great piece that Hamil did. And thank you and the Washington Informer for commemorating the 25th anniversary of the Million Man March.
It's one of those things that you realize, boy, how time has flown. And when we did the math, we're like, wow, 25th anniversary. Why do you think that folks aren't memorializing this event? I mean, and you were right there in the front line. You were the organizer of this march. 1 million men peacefully collected on or gathered on the steps of the U.S. Congress, made a pledge. To me, that was a really historic event. What is your feeling about how we got here today? And
sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think that just as a point of history, on October the 16th, 1995, it was the largest single gathering of Black men in the history of the world, not just in the history of America, but nothing like that had ever taken place anywhere in the world. And we're all very proud. So now it's 25 years later. Black lives still matter. Black lives mattered in 1995. Black lives matter in 2020. We still have to work on the problem of Black on Black crime, the fratricide that goes on not only in Washington, D.C., but in other cities. So we got to work on ending the violence. I'm talking about the violence that we do to each other. Keep in mind, the Million Man March was brought about because we needed to atone. We needed to have more unity in our community, more working together, and we needed to stop the violence. That was a primary reason for the march. And on that day, Denise, 25 years ago, Black on Black crime in Washington, D.C., and Baltimore, and Philly, and New York, and Houston, and Los Angeles, and Chicago, all across the country, went to zero. There was no Black on Black crime that day. So we showed that we can do it for one day. The challenge is how to keep violence out of our community every day. The challenge is how to make sure that we register to vote. 25 years ago, we registered 250,000 people to vote on a single day at the Million Man March. And now we face an election that's coming up in less than 20 days. And some people are still arguing about whether or not their vote counts or whether or not they should vote. We have to vote. This is the most consequential election in our lifetime. And Black votes, all of the sacrifices, all of the struggles. And of course, we have forces that are trying to erode voting rights. There's voter suppression going on. You've seen all the long lines of people trying to vote, even today and doing early voting. So I would say that the spirit of the Million Man March that Hamil referred to, the spirit of the Million Man March that was present that day 25 years ago, is still alive. But we're dispersed because of COVID-19. There wasn't a large gathering this year to commemorate the 25th anniversary. But there are virtual events going on all this week. I've been involved. I'm going to be in another one this evening. So using technology, using the digital space as well as the internet space, people are commemorating. Keep in mind, there are a lot of young brothers and sisters who weren't even born 25 years ago. Okay. So they're learning about the Million Man March. And that really salute the Washington Informer for keeping our community informed, not only on the milestones of the past, but how we can learn from our past, how we can learn from Black history. And particularly, we still need many lessons that we should learn about grassroots organizing, the value of grassroots organizing from the Million Man March perspective. That's why a million Black, actually was almost 2 million that actually came. There's a dispute about the numbers, but we know we met the goal. We exceeded the goal on that day. Everybody assembled safely, had an impact, took the pledge that Hamil referenced in the video clip earlier. And a lot of those brothers went back and followed that pledge. Even today, I meet young people, older people, middle-aged people who were impacted by the Million Man March. And many still say in 2020 that 25 years ago, their lives were changed forever. Their lives were transformed ongoingly as a result of the Million Man March.
I think it's always interesting when you bring it up to people and they all of a sudden start remembering that particular day. But speaking of voting, you're going to be participating in this event that the Word in Black and some of the NNPA publishers are going to have on Tuesday evening. And it's about voting with a purpose. And so expound on that, at least in your opinion, what you think that means. I mean, we're not only voting for or against an individual, but we're voting for a purpose.
Right. Well, for Black people, voting is just not a right. It's a responsibility. It's a sacred responsibility. A lot of people were lynched, murdered, homes burned, churches burned, people spending time in jail, being assaulted. John Lewis had many brain concussions and beaten in the head as a result of getting the right to vote, the Voting Rights Act and the Selma March. So I think that, yes, we have to vote for a purpose, but that purpose is just not on election day. That purpose is 365 days a year. Every day should be Black History Month Day. Every day should be a consciousness among our people of the importance of vote because of the price of the vote that has already been paid. And we have a responsibility in 2020 to go out and vote. So we're going to be discussing that purpose, that legacy, and our future on Tuesday. And I thank the 10 Black-owned newspapers that are sponsoring it, along with other organizations. And I think as well, Word Black is that the title. Denise, and I'll be with Bakari Sellers and many others on the program. Looking forward to it.
Right, and the last thing, because I'm getting that time signal, and I know you need to go. But as you know, we are celebrating our 56th anniversary, and not a lot of folks, like you said, who remember the Million Man March. Not a lot of folks who really knew my dad, and yes. You and he were.
We were comrades in the struggle. We were more than friends. We were comrades. Calvin Rolark was a freedom fighter par excellence, and a lot of us not only admired your father, Denise, but worked with your father hand in hand. We had a lot of street combat fighting the forces of racism in DC and in Maryland and Northern Virginia. The Washington Informer was always known as that one newspaper that would not only print the truth, but advocate for the truth. And of course, you're still continuing that tradition. And we salute the 56th anniversary of the Washington Informer.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chavis, and we appreciate you being with us, and have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, wow, that's been good. Chevry, you all haven't met Chevry. Chevry, well, those who are on the show know Chevry because she's always calling and making sure that we stay on time. And I want to thank her very much while we celebrate this 56th anniversary, because we're only celebrating our 6th anniversary of Win TV. Thanks to the work that she's 6-month anniversary, exactly, since she's been helping to pull the show together. We're going to take a moment to look at some images that one of our colleagues, Rob Roberts, put together on photographs from the Million Man March. We'll be right back. Well, we want to thank Rob Roberts for sharing those great photographs with us. We want to thank DB Bantino, otherwise known as Desmond Barnes, for that great theme song. And now I'm happy to bring on, who else? Lafayette Barnes Sr., my husband and partner, who helps to make sure that I can do what I do here at the Washington Informer. Lafayette Barnes, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Denise. You look lovely, as always.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And so, you've often talked about this, and we're happy that you would be with us for this 56th anniversary, because, this is what I was doing when we met. And, I just want to kind of get your impressions that we could talk about publicly about just life with a newspaper publisher, but also of the Washington Informer and of my dad.
Well, first of all, let me congratulate you, Denise, as the publisher extraordinaire for the Washington Informer. And certainly I want to recognize your dad, Dr. Calvin Rolark, and Wilhelmina J. Rolark, for their vision and their hard work in establishing the paper 56 years ago. I'm so proud to know that not only did I marry a beautiful Black woman, but also a Black woman who happens to be a dedicated journalist and an even more dedicated publisher. And so when I go back and think about the 35 years that we've been married and the experiences that we've had, particularly as the editor and now publisher of the Informer, I must admit that when we first got together and married, I didn't understand the commitment that you had made, and I didn't understand the importance of the Informer. But I guess what? It didn't take long when I realized that Denise was working, 15, 18-hour days jobs. I would complain to her about, why is she on Martin Luther King Avenue at 2:00 in the morning with her staff working on the paper? And I stepped back and I looked at the importance of the newspaper, not only to her family, but to all of the people in the community that depend on hearing about the positive news in the African American community, not only here, but also in Africa and other places. So, I must say, Denise, that, the experience of being married to you and now to the newspaper and our children, Lafayette and Desmond, I'm just so proud of the work that you've been doing. Whether you've covered stories about the Million Man March, which is certainly in a very important event, or whether you talked about concerned Black men, or whether you talked about the protests for equality in the District of Columbia. I remember very well when we all were arrested, not you, fortunately, but in front of the Senate Dirksen building, protesting for voting rights, taxation without representation here in the District of Columbia. And the Washington Informer was right there, wrote the story. I can think about the social sites that are in the Informer, how important that is to the community. And our skiers column. So there's just so much that you offer to not only your family, but to this community. And Denise, I just want to thank you and let you know how proud we are of you as the leader. Once you said, when your father died, you said, wow, that you would never be able to fill his shoes. But Denise, you put his shoes up on the shelf. You bought some new tennis shoes, and you've been running with the Informer ever since. And so,
Well, I want to.
You're moving us forward, so thank you for that work.
Thank you. And you talked about our children, and it's amazing that even with all that hard work and arrests and everything else that was going on, we were able to produce two sons that we're both very proud of, and who are also now part of the Washington Informer team. We have Lafayette Barnes, who is, publisher of W.I. Bridge, the baby that we gave birth to, not him, but the newspaper. About 5 years ago, and Desmond D.B. Bantino, artist extraordinaire, who I'm so proud, wrote or what is the word, put together or whatever our produced. Thank you, Sherry. Our Win TV theme song that I love because it always gets me going, and did the music for the slideshow that we did. It's nothing like having these talented young people in your life. So welcome Lafayette and welcome Desmond.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna start with Desmond because Lafayette, you got a whole segment right after this. So I'm gonna let Desmond talk for a minute because, you've pursued a career in music, but yet you still find time to do some work for your mom. Talk about that.
Well, I've always told myself that the Washington Informer is my first job. So no matter where in the world or whatever I'm doing, people always know that I got to put whatever I'm working on to the side if I have something that I need to get done for the Informer, because if it wasn't for the Informer, I wouldn't be wherever I was at probably anyways. It's always just been my first commitment.
We had a funny story. We told a funny story yesterday, or Desmond told me a funny story, Lafayette, and the viewers out there about, we called it delivering papers while Black. And Desmond used to deliver the newspapers when he got a little car, and we appreciate him getting those papers out. But tell that story, because, it's amazing what we go through.
Well, before I got my car, I was definitely driving the U-Haul truck. We were picking up U-Haul trucks and dropping them off after the route. So that made it a little bit more obvious that there was some type of work going on. But definitely once I got my Buick LeSabre and I had to do my route up on Georgia Avenue, I remember it was one night I think I got pulled over 3 times. I definitely got pulled over 3 times in that route by the police, just because they're like, why does this guy keep going from store to store, jumping out his car? Like, what does he got going on? But then I would tell them to look in the back seat, and then they would say, oh, the Washington Informer. I have nothing but great things to say about it. And like just doing that route was just great anyways, because every stop that I made, everyone just had so much great things to say about either my mom or the Informer or anybody that works there. And I just learned a lot over that time.
That's amazing. I'm just hearing that story. Lafayette, you too have, kind of taken your route. You've gone place to place, and now you've come back. You've got your own publication. Tell us what that experience has been like.
Yeah, so it's been great. I like my brother said, Informer is always the #1 priority. I remember, growing up, being at the office, being a nuisance, throwing me and Desmond turning somebody's desk into a basketball court and throwing newspapers or throwing copy paper around. And now I realize like how terrible that is, because we need copy paper, we need people to focus at their desk. So I can reflect back and understand the perspective that might have been being taught to me during that period of time. But it's been great. I did some work I went to Howard University and studied, and shout out to Howard Homecoming this weekend. And then I started working at Alexandria for the city out there as a graphic designer, and just sort of thought, to bring my talents back over to the newspaper as a designer and as, a person born and raised in DC who has a lot of friends here who I felt like needed to be highlighted. And so we've been able to start the Washington Informer Bridge. We're in our 3rd year, going ahead and into our 4th year. We've had, actually the 5th year, I want to say. This is my 3rd year. We had 2 editors before that. We had Serafina Wright and Sam Collins, who will be on the show a little bit later on. You'll hear about their perspective and how they approached the Informer. But yeah, it's just been great, connecting with folks, learning the business, learning the digital side of the business, which is a brand new, take on news and newspapers. And I'm just enjoying the journey, and I love to learn. So I'm happy to be here.
So all of us had the opportunity, and I'm really glad that you all could join me today. And my mother, your grandmother, is watching the show, so I'm glad Vera Abbott is there, because it all started with her.
That's right.
If it weren't for her, none of us would be here. So I'm very, very glad that she's still with us and enjoying this. But I also, and she says, I'm here. Happy 56th anniversary. Hello, Grandma.
Hey, Mom.
But we want to just take one brief minute, because Lafayette, we want to turn the show over to the bridge for a few minutes, as you mentioned. But thanks to Lynn Dyson and the folks with the DC Black Repertory Theater, we were able to put a message together regarding reflections of your grandfather. And this too would not have happened had he not decided that it was important to put to start the Washington Informer. And I just want you to kind of briefly talk about, what the press means to you. I mean, what he did and how that's impacted you, and why you think his life was so important. And Lafayette, I can start with you, the senior.
I was like, I don't know who you're talking to.
Okay, I was wondering which Lafayette.
That's why I said the senior.
But
had a lifetime of trying to figure out which one is she talking to.
If it is to be, it's up to me. Your dad, those famous 10 words that he taught us all, and how that message continues to vibrate today. I just think the fact that who he was as an individual, he cared about Black people, but he cared about all people. He'd give you hell in public, but he really would help you in the background. So he was a full man, and I appreciated everything that he taught me as your husband and as his son-in-law. And I just couldn't have asked for a better man to model after, and to help me to raise this beautiful family now, and to continue the Rolark legacy. So I just really appreciate your dad.
Desmond?
And the question is basically just what?
Yeah, I mean, just what does your grandfather's life, his legacy, what does that mean to you today?
Well, yeah, like
in
I
the industry
said,
that you're in, which is the music industry.
I mean, I definitely feel like he left big shoes to fill. So with, like I said, going around the city and just hearing all the great things about him, and even just the respect that he got, it just made me realize how much you can be capable of doing, and how much potential that I actually have, and even trying to let people around me see that, because some people never had someone like that to look up to in their family. So I definitely try to give my friends and everyone around me that same energy that I feel like he left with me.
All right, and I'm going to end with Lafayette, but I'm also, Lafayette, going to turn this segment of WIN TV over to WI Bridge TV. I want to thank Lafayette Sr. and Desmond for being here. We've got a lot of great things that are coming in the future, which may have more, you may be seeing more of Desmond. But Lafayette, I'm turning it over to you. WIN TV, you can transition, talk about your granddad, and start your segment of the show, and we'll be back. Don't go away. We've got lots more coming. Thank you.
Oh, hey Denise. So good afternoon and welcome to our weekly Bridge Takeover. I'm your host, Claudia. And as you already know, it is the 56th anniversary of the Washington Informer. And so we have some very, very special guests joining us today, my Bridge predecessors, Serafina Wright and Sam P.K. Collins. So let's bring them in.
Hi.
Hey guys. So thanks so much for joining me for our little editors powwow. And so I want to get right into it and talk to you guys about your experience at the Informer and what working with the Black press meant to you then and what it means to you now.
Serafina, if okay, I'll start. I came to the Informer as an intern from Howard University. It was my last semester, and I needed that internship credit class, that thing. Mm-hmm. And I had never heard of the Informer. I had been in DC 4 years, and I embarrassingly will say that I had never even been to Southeast, unless I was in a car. So when I found out that that's where the internship was, I was like, oh, okay. And even when my professor was like, we have an alum, she's looking for some interns, because I had not secured an internship at that point. And in that time, I really didn't care. I was just so burnt out. I was like, well, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But that opportunity came through, and I sent Denise this super long email introducing myself and attaching my resume, and she emailed me back and she said, let's meet, period. And she had the address and Thursday at 12:30. And I was like, oh, okay. So went there. When I walked in, I was like, okay, all right. I saw Chevry, saw John DeFreitas, saw Ron Burke, and I was like, okay, older people. I couldn't what it is that I had walked into. Mm-hmm. I saw Roy Lewis. I was expecting, like a newspaper where it was like, very sterile, I guess. I don't know. I didn't know what I was expecting, and then Kevin walks in with his grits and his eggs and his bacon and,
and his fabulous man jewelry.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. His rings.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay. And I sat through the meeting, and after it was over, Kevin looked at me and he was like, can you write? I was like, I don't know. He was like, well, we'll see. But that was my introduction, and I immediately felt something there that I hadn't felt my whole time in DC. Mm-hmm. Just being around like real people, in the sense of like people that I would know. Like I saw my family and these people, like, oh, he acts like my uncle, she acts like my mom, And it just felt like a safe environment for me to come there, as an intern and working on the weekends to get my stories in. And I really took to the straight and direct criticism about my writing. Kevin would say, don't do that again, that sucks. And I would be like, okay. And I would apply the changes. And then, okay, we didn't talk about that anymore until we moved on, and I continued to get better. And at the end of the summer, they offered me to come on as a contributor, and that's what I did. And then that turned into a staff writer position, and then that was August of 2015. And a year later, I was offered the Bridge position once Sam decided to move on. So I'll segue it to Sam right now.
All right. Give thanks, Serafina. It was very cool hearing you just touch back on that, because I remember meeting you, if I recall correctly, had to be 2015 or so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right when the Bridge, right around the point where we first launched it. By 2015, I had been with the Informer for like 3 years. So I joined the Informer as a grad student. I met Denise through another awesome elder named Robin Marcus. She was a professor at GW, where I graduated from. So when I was in grad school, by that time, we had done a campus publication. Denise came down to speak with us. And then after that, Denise and I, we started building on, me possibly writing for the paper. We went out to eat. And then I remember one point, I said something, looking back, it was kind of, immature, nonchalant. I was like, this is going to be easy. And Denise was like, no, it's not. It's not going to be easy. Like, no, it's not. And lo and behold, 8 years in, not consistently. I did 7 years. I took a year break of not writing in the Informer, but I really learned how hard it is, how much time you got to dedicate. But at the same time, like there's a rush, I get a certain kind of euphoria from it, reason why I'm up writing copy or interviewing people or just thinking the stories is keep me up at night. And, I learned about the business, from another Denise at the paper. Her name was Denise W. Barnes. So she, you're talking about Kevin tearing up copy. Denise W., she tore up copy. And, for a year, I was really anxious to turn in my copy to her. But the Informer was the best internship professional experience that I got as a journalist, because these other papers, the so-called mainstreams, like they're just going to keep you at the desk. There's nobody there really invested in your well-being, somebody who can school you on the business, give you the racial, rundown. Like there's a lot of historians on the paper. I like being around elders, just because like you get to learn that history and they get to tell you where they were at this point, man. Shout out to Roy Lewis, man. He's a real gem in the community. And I always love building with him and just other professionals who can just get me to the next level. And, that's what the bridge represented. I'm going to wrap up here, but the bridge, it's real emotional. Like Black press is really important. It's really like family. Because we really care about people. When people can tell you about their lives and they feel comfortable, you really take that seriously, representing them in the paper. And the bridge was a chance for us to do that, especially, in 2015 with the Justice or Else, which was actually the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March. We did some stuff, not necessarily around that, but around that climate. And, the paper sort of reflected it at that time, as you can see here. So I just wanted to show y'all that piece of history that we're making at the Informer. Give thanks for the Informer, Dr. Calvin Rolark Barnes, and everybody else who came out of that.
Yes, absolutely. And so let me just let you all know at home that this man is not just a contributing writer for The Bridge. He's also my copy editor. And, without him, I just don't think I could function. And so I'm very, very thankful. And so, how do you all feel that your experience with the Informer has shaped you for your future aspirations? Like, what do you think was the most valuable lesson you learned?
For me, it's so many things. I feel like the Informer is like home base because, and I think someone told me, I think it was Jeffrey, you'll never be done with it. And I was like, okay. But in 2018, early 2018, I decided to move back from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hey, it's where my grandma's from.
Oh, awesome. Where did she go to school?
I have no idea. She's very old, but she taught there. My mother went to, I think, East Mecklenburg.
Okay, I went to West Charlotte, so Black high school in Charlotte. But yeah, so I decided to move back home, and I knew that I wanted to get more skills in the media industry, and I just wanted to, actually a former professor, Ron Harris, he told me that, you need to move on from the Informer and, just see what I can do out there. And at the time I was like, no, I like it here. It's great. And he was like, that's the problem. You need to stretch yourself. And so I decided to do that. And I got a job as a radio producer for NPR Charlotte, for Charlotte NPR station. And I'm doing that for a year and a half. It was great. And I learned so many things, but that pull of, being a journalist, of being a writer, of knowing the stories, of talking to people really, 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 really started to pull me back. And it was like, I called Kevin, the editor, and I was like, I think I want to start writing. I don't see myself doing this for too much longer, because you get to that place in life where it's like, oh, this doesn't really feed me. Mm-hmm. And when you're growing up and you see movies and people having these like you can't really relate. But that was me just this year. And I was like, this isn't feeding me. and I want to do something that feeds me. And that pulled me right back to the Informer. So what I'm doing now is freelance writing for the Informer and other publications. And then I'm running my own lifestyle and entertainment site, SarahKingClub.com. And so many things, just to wrap it up, that I've learned from the Informer, you know, how to, you know, work the room. I get that from Chevry. How to, you know, kind of get people to give you what you want. And I need this information. I need you to give it to me. And just having that confidence and that boldness that, you know, you deserve to be in the room. Obviously, how to not make it a meal, as Kevin would say. You know, sometimes we kind of get lost in the sauce when we're trying to write a story and trying to sound smart and trying to sound like we know what we're talking about. But just, you know, giving a little bite, and you can always come back later to give people more. So that's some of the few things. I could go on and on. I'll let Sam go.
No doubt. And as far as professionally, over my time at the Informer, like especially as I got older, I've developed not only professionally, but more personally and spiritually, and just understanding how media is one piece of the puzzle as far as our self-determination as African people. So, you know, I identify as a Garveyite. You know, Kevin jokes a lot about, you know, Marcus Garvey, of course, and, you know, and it's all light-hearted, of course, but, you know, when it comes to really representing ourselves as Black people and having our own voice and finding it and using the newspaper as a means of organizing and galvanizing around certain issues, that is something that I take very seriously. Just given my experiences at a PWI and, you know, working among people of various races, and, you know, I'm very race first in like everything that I do. You know, I don't preach hate at all, but I'm of the mindset that we got to do for ourselves and be self-determined. Absolutely. And that really informed my professional trajectory, you know, just working as a contractor and, you know, leveraging opportunities to serve as a copy editor, as an educator, as a writer, you know, learning different things. And, you know, for the time being, that's what I see myself doing, developing more in that regard, and just expanding my knowledge of what's happening here and around the world to make more original pieces and just dig deeper in my curiosity. But I'm doing it all for the goal of organizing our people around self-determination, because that's what's really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so as we get ready to wrap it up, if you all could just leave me with your fondest memory of the Informer, that would be amazing.
That's tough. This is kind of sentimental, I guess, and nobody will probably remember this at all. But I think it was the day that I picked up my internship check. Like, the internship had ended and we got our stipend, and I came to down to the Informer, and it was May-ish 2015. It was really hot outside, and I got on the metro and rode the bus up. And I just remember walking in, and at that point I had been there a couple months, and from going to school there and not having any family there, and not ever really feeling like I had met people that I considered family, or that I felt like, you know, okay, you know, that energy that you can't really describe. I was leaving, and I was like, okay, back on the bus, back on the, you know, back to all that. And Kevin and Chevry were leaving at the same time, and they both looked at me and they were like, get in this car. We're going to take you home. Where you going? And I was like, and it was something so small, but it was like, wow, that feeling of, you know, older people who, you know, just saw me as, you know, one of them, as somebody that they cared enough about how they got home. And that continued, of course. So I think that really was the moment where I felt like, you know, I am bonded to this place and these people, and I'm grateful to be here.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Sam?
Yes, ma'am. My throwback memory, and I got a throwback. This one, once again, involves Denise W., just because she was the hardest. You speak about copy editing, she was really, like, she would sit on the phone with you and go over that copy line by line for minutes and hours at a time. And if you got it wrong, she would send you back then you got to come back and write it again and again and again, you know, especially if she saw something in you. And I remember it was 2013, summer 2013, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was speaking at a school. No, he was reading at a school. It was Bowen Elementary in Southwest, and I had to go down there and cover it. And when I turned in that copy, as I was writing it, son told me like, all right, man, this is going, you know, and lo and behold, it was like, that was Denise W. That was like a turning point in my whole career. Like, she was just like astounded. You know, we got through the copy quickly. I did all the right things. And, you know, it might seem small to y'all, but like, that was really important to me as far as my career as a journalist and just being more confident in my writing.
I mean, absolutely. I think that some of the most impactful moments can be, you know, deemed the smallest moments, but it's when you feel like you've really accomplished something, when you feel like you've really been embraced. It might seem like whatever to someone else, but you know what you've been going through and what you've been trying to achieve personally. And so I think that's what makes it what it is. So, okay, thanks so much for joining me today, you guys. And so now you all at home, be sure to check out HR Records IG story tonight live at 9 o'clock featuring Weta, which is a trio of Guatemalan and Mayan descent. And now we're going to go back to Denise for a special anniversary tribute.
It is just so inspiring to hear, you know, how the impact that the Informer has made, not only on our staff and the young folks who have been become a part of what we call the family. We are definitely a family here. And I'm just so glad to hear that members of the family feel as though they are definitely included. It just really fills my heart. And that's what makes the Informer so important to me, what we do here, not only our staff, but hopefully we're making that kind of a difference in the community. That's what my dad did, and we want to continue that legacy. And there's some funny stories there, especially, you know, I get it. You walk into a room with a bunch of old folks, and Chevy said, we ain't old people, but we are. I mean, really, to them, we are. And that's why we want to pass this baton. We don't want to be that institution that says, you know, you got to, well, you do have to prove yourself. And I think those two, Serafina and Sam, proved that they have proven themselves, as well as Claudia with the Bridge and Lafayette and Desmond and all of them. So that's the next generation of the Washington Informer and WI Bridge. And we hope that the next generation in your household will follow them as well. It's always amazing to hear people say to me, you know, my mother reads the Washington Informer, or my grandmother reads the Washington Informer. And I'm like, well, do you read it? I mean, if it's coming into your house, do you read it as well? And what can we do to make it better? So the legacy continues, and I'm very, very happy about that. So Sherry said I had to toast myself, which I'm going to do. So this is my toast to the Washington Informer. All righty. They say it's happy hour somewhere. So it's happy hour here at the Washington Informer. Ron Burke is our Director of Advertising and Marketing. We see half of his face, and so maybe we can see the other half if he spins his camera around. Fantastic.
Okay.
And
Is that
Ron
better?
is actually, yes, Ron is, gosh, Ron, how long have you been with us?
20 years, Denise.
Oh my God, time flies when you're having fun.
I'm telling you. And when I started, I actually had hair and no gray in my mustache.
I have some of those photos. We should have shown them. So, I mean, you know, I mean, everybody knows that when you came to the Informer, I courted you or hounded you or whatever you would say for 4 years. I tried to get you here because I just felt like you could really help to make a difference. And when you finally walk through that door, I mean, we've never looked back. You've just made a tremendous impact, not only for the advertising and the work that you brought, but for the relationships you've developed. And I want you to talk about relationships, because that's really key for you.
Yeah, so I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to work with you, and that's one of the things that you said. Come work with me, not for me. And, you know, so I've always, that's always resonated with me. And you know, my philosophy is very, very simple. You know, create relationships and provide good customer services. I think that that's something that we're doing quite well, quite effectively at the Washington Informer. And you know, it's about, I think everything starts with the customer service. You know, we sell advertising. You know, you can get a $50 ad with the Washington Informer, or you can get a full page ad that's about $3,000. And, you know, we don't differentiate in how much you're spending. Everybody gets the same level of customer service. Or if you just call in for an inquiry and you never place an ad, you're going to get the same level of customer service from the Washington Informer. And I think that we pride ourselves on service, you know. And that kind of leads me to patting ourselves on the back for today. 56 years of being a small business, and we're still going. 56 years of being a woman-owned business, and we're still going and growing. 56 years of being an African-American business, and we're still going and growing. And, you know, so we're checking a lot of boxes. And, you know, I think that that's important to pat ourselves on the back, because think of how many small businesses, African-American owned businesses, women owned businesses that don't make it a year or 2 years, and we're still going and growing after 56 years. So, you know, everybody that's on the screen, clap your hands, pat yourselves on the back, because, you know, including our readers and our followers, because we all play a part in this, that we all have the relationship of building and maintaining and nurturing the Washington Informer. So happy anniversary to us.
Thank you so much, Ron. I know you're up in Pennsylvania in a empty hotel with a bunch of other publishers representing the Washington Informer.
So let me just say this, and I don't want to make this a political statement. I'm up in Trump country. You know, I mean, the hotel right across the street is a big campaign office for Trump. All up and down the street where I am in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, all up and down the street, all of this vote for Trump, 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 Trump. And so that just makes me want to just say, you know,
go
I'm
vote.
not
That's
telling
the
you,
bottom line, is
go
to go
vote.
vote.
Go
Exactly.
vote.
Exactly.
You
All
know,
righty. All right, Ron, thank
go
you
vote.
so much.
All right.
Stay safe. And I want to also just give a shout out to a couple of folks. Lindy Velikasi, you all look out for her byline in the Washington Informer. She's on right now in our chat, and we're so Lindy is a wonderful writer, up and coming star, and continue to look out for her stories. They're going to be great. She did a great one this week on the impact of COVID-19 on domestic violence. Thank you, Sherry. And it was a great story. And she's done so many great stories. So Lindy, thanks for tuning in. We're going to now go to a video from one of our staff members.
Hi, my name is Angie Johnson. I work with the Washington Informer for 10 years. My role is the office manager. In addition, I'm the circulation manager and event planner. As you can see, most of us wear multiple hats. I want to say congratulations to you, Denise, on the 56th anniversary of the Washington Informer newspaper.
Thank you. Askia Muhammad, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm honored to be with you. And one of the old folks, as you said, and although you reminded me many, many years ago, I think at Wilhelmina Rolark funeral, that your mother told you that we are the elders now.
Yes.
But you don't look old. You look like you found the fountain of youth, and you've carried on so well your dad's legacy, and really made the paper bigger and better. And I'm so honored and proud to be a part of the Washington Informer. I'm proud that the Washington Informer sponsors the Scripps Spelling Bee. I'm proud that the Washington Informer really brings the news that our community wants to see. And so I'm just honored to be a part of it and to have been one of the old folks and have been around for a long time. But then when I see the young Washington Informer Bridge and all the people, the young people that you brought in, which is a testament to the leadership that you brought, not just sitting on your laurels, not just holding the reins of power to yourself, but rather dispersing it and building and strengthening the newspaper and all its expressions in such a way that it really is a great community institution.
You know,
and my
go
toast.
ahead. Wonderful, wonderful. I should have mine in a thermos, but Chevy gave me a real glass, so I don't know.
I got coffee.
Good. But you know, it's interesting because, you know, I mean, we've got us and our elders, or we are the elders on this side, and I've got the young folks on this side. And rather than feeling like I'm being pulled apart, it's just, you know, it's strengthening me to bring us together. And that's what's so exciting. I'm so glad that you're still with us and that you're, I mean, as a writer, as a columnist, when we do our surveys, one of the top columns folks love to read is yours. And so keep doing what you do, not only here but also for WPFW. We certainly love hearing you on the air. So I want to give a shout out to a radio station that we've partnered with over the years, and keep up the great work, Askia.
Thank you. And I'm honored to be with you and a part of you and really a part of the tradition, and just watching the Informer grow and take root in young people and old people. And wow, you mentioned grandparents and parents reading the paper. It's like, yeah, but we continue to move forward.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I know you have a show to do. I love listening. I won't be able to listen today, but I will definitely keep you tuned in, and I'll look for your column. You always get it in on time. So thank you so much. So, another video. Wow. Okay, Sherry, you got the...
Hello, my name is Mabel Neville. I'm the bookkeeper here at the Washington Informer newspaper. I've been working here at the Informer for almost 20 years now. I would like to congratulate Denise and the Washington Informer on their 56th anniversary. Wow. Way to go, Informer.
You know, it's funny, Dr. Promise, so good to have you. I have to laugh because, you know, we're almost like the well, I don't want to categorize people, but yeah, in the Informer, you wear a bunch of hats. You know what I'm saying? Today you might be the office manager. Tomorrow you might be in charge of circulation. The next day you're putting a party on. You know, the next day you got to write a story. You got to read captions. But that's the way we make it happen. And thanks to you, I mean, you joined us not only as we were doing the Scripps National Spelling Bee, but fortunately I was able to grab you to become a part of Washington Informer Charities, our nonprofit that my dad actually started, but we got off the ground. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me here. I just realized as I was listening that I've actually been working with the Spelling Bee since 16 years.
Wow.
And so I started as the director of literacy for DC Public Schools and coordinated the spelling bee at that point. And then when I retired 10 years ago, I've still served as the head judge at the citywide spelling bee. So yes, it's been a while. And one of my great pleasures is joining the Washington Informer Charity Board and being able to continue the literacy direction of the Washington Informer charities in order to make sure that we're really trying to close the achievement gap for children across the city, in fact, across the DMV.
Well, you know, I always like to remind people that the Washington Informer was the first weekly newspaper and the first African-American newspaper to participate in the National Scripps Spelling Bee. We brought in another weekly, the Loudoun County Times, actually that same year. but we had to fight scripts in order to get into the spelling bee. It wasn't a hard fight, but like I said, my dad and my stepmother were always ready to, to knock down barriers, and they did. And so we've been sponsoring the spelling bee now. This would represent our 39th year. So we're so glad that you've been able to be a part of that and to be a part of the Washington Informer family.
It has been my great pleasure, and I'd like to toast the Washington Informer Charities with my glass of water and a wine.
Okay, doke. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, doke. Thanks much. And have a great day. I think now we're going to go to Stacy Brown. You all know Stacy. You've seen his articles. He's a national reporter for the Washington Informer. And many of you all may think, oh, Stacy Brown, the woman who writes the Informer. No, Stacy is our brother who writes a column or articles every single week. He's the hardest working journalist I know in not only in the Black press, but in the media, period. So, Stacy?
Hi, I'm Stacy Brown, the senior writer for the Washington Informer. I've been in this role for 7 years now. But I think about back in 1964, Dr. Calvin Rolark founded this great newspaper, and he probably never imagined that all these years later, 56 years later, that his daughter, Denise Rolark Barnes, would carry on his vision, his mission, and do it in a way that there's no question he would be extremely proud, just as we are all proud to be a part of the Washington Informer family. Happy anniversary, Denise. You deserve it, and may it be another 56 years. Take care.
Thanks, Stacy. And I need to work on that background. That really works. Walt Carr, how are you?
Great, doing just great.
Wonderful, wonderful. I am so excited because of what you have been able to accomplish with your book. You are a renowned cartoonist. People always talk about how much they love the cartoon that runs on an editorial page. I am honored to be one of those papers that just thought that you had a lot to offer to our readers. And now you've written a book and you've been written about in other publications across the country. Congratulations.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate the Informer on your 56 years of serving the Black community. If you want to know the truth about the Black community, you need to rely on the Black press. And you guys have done a great job. And when I hear these years being thrown out, I've been with you cats for 27 years.
Wow.
1993 is when I started drawing editorial cartoons as opposed to single panel gag cartoons. I always felt that for the longest time that you never saw Black and brown people in political cartoons on the editorial pages of mainstream press unless it was something catastrophic or negative. And I think that, we have our spin, our perspective on world issues, national issues that impact the Black condition. And I felt like I could fill that void, and that's why I switched. And I've been enjoying it ever since.
People don't understand the value of editorial cartoons. I do. And I think those of us in the press do. A lot of people kind of take it for granted that anybody can put a cartoon together, but this takes a little work on your part.
Well, it takes a little work, and at the same time, it doesn't hurt to be as old as I am, because I've been through the journey, and I've seen it live, and I've seen the changes, and I just feel like I've got this gift, and I feel obligated to use it. And oftentimes, issues dealing with the Black condition, a lot of the conditions are so dire, I can not always provoke a laugh in every cartoon. But if I can inform you, if I can educate you, and perhaps even inspire you, I feel like I've accomplished my mission.
So the last thing, do you have a copy of your book in front of you?
You know I do.
All right. I want folks to see it. And how can they order a copy? It's called
on
Just
Amazon.
Us. On
It's
Amazon.
available on Amazon.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. And we may try to make some available here for folks who might want to order. So we'll contact you about that as well. But know you can get a copy of Just Us by Walt Carr on Amazon. Get some of the best cartoons, not all of them, just some of them that he's created. So I want to thank you so much for being with us. I really, really appreciate this.
Thanks for inviting me. I really, really appreciate that as well.
All righty. Have a good one. Wow, Sherry, who's next? Chantella? Oh my goodness. Chantella Sherman. We heard a little bit about Chantella earlier. So, Chantella?
Hi, this is Dr. Chantella Sherman. And for the last 30 years or so, I've made a career as both a journalist and most recently as a historian. While I celebrate the historical markers and the journalistic treasures, one of the things I would say I'm most proud of is being a part of the Washington Informer newspaper. From being its managing editor to being currently its special editions editor, I can say that I have grown tremendously under the leadership and guidance of DC's homegrown African American newspaper. To the staff, bravo and cheers. You've done an amazing job over the course of the last 56 years. To Denise Rolark Barnes, its publisher, I can only tell you that words, I fail at finding quite the right words to say how much I appreciate all that you've done in helping me to grow both as a professional and as a person. The Washington Informer has become not only a staple in the Washington, D.C. area, but globally. And it is also a training ground where very important things come together with very important people. And that could not happen without your leadership. So again, happy 56. I wish you 56 more. And I hope that we can continue to move forward, upward, onward, always, because the Washington Informer is the future. Thank you so much and happy birthday.
Oh. Thank you, Chantella. Whoa, Darren. Hey guys, what's up? I haven't seen you all in person in like what was it Christmas? Whatever. It's been too long. It's been too long. But for those who don't know, when you look at the copy, when you look at the issue of the Washington Informer, the print edition, these are my two brothers in spirit who make it all happen and have been doing so. I thought the world was going to fall apart when you all left to go to DC to go to Chicago. But hey, you know, the internet makes things happen.
Absolutely. That it does. Just wanted to say thanks for making happy hour on Friday start at 1:30 as opposed to the typical. So yeah, a huge toast to you. A huge toast to you, and thank you for, good stuff.
Lafayette, go ahead, Jaron.
No, I was just going to say we did it for 5 years, I think. Was it 5 years? And then we went away for a few and couldn't wait to get back. So it's just about 5 years again now. And we're so happy to be back and so happy to be a part of this. And I just wanted to thank you so much for letting us be a part of your team. It means so much to us, and we couldn't be happier. So thank you for that.
Well, I just know, and Dan and I talked about this, and Jaron, when we used to I used to bring the paper to you all or come to you all on Wednesday nights to proof the paper.
Yeah,
and we couldn't wait to get finished so we could have our toast. It was like, we got to finish. We
can't open the wine until we're done.
Until we're done. It could be 11, 12 o'clock at night, but we had to get it done. And you all did. And I mean, it's just been great. And you've been able to work with, our different editors, and it's hey, so thank you for being with us. Thank you for celebrating this day. And, we got another 56. I'm sorry, another 56 years to go.
That sounds good.
So please take care of yourselves.
Right back to you. And we'll toast in person one day. I just wanted to say one thing before we stuck out. Zebra's been around for almost 23 years.
Exactly.
This is and has been by far the most important, meaningful, that our company has ever undertaken, working with you and the Informer and Ron. And I just don't know how to express how grateful and how honored we both are.
And I did on that exactly. I mean, your passion is lit up in us, and we love you for all of this, Denise. So thank you for letting us be a part of it. And we're with you for the next 56 if you'll have us.
That's
true. Oh, no question. Did you get my cookies?
Those were yours. We got cookies with no milk. They were so good too, Denise. We got cookies, but there was no note on the cookies.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I just want to let you know that the organization I sent those from, actually the proceeds or whatever they do supports women in Alexandria, Virginia who are looking for jobs. It's a job program for them.
Wow.
So I'm glad you got them. I'm glad you
They were
enjoyed them.
delicious.
And I'm sorry you didn't get the wine basket I sent you. Somebody got it. I don't know where it went. We'll do that again next time. But thank you.
Here's to you guys.
All right, thank you. And you know, before I go, I just want you to say real quickly, because you know, I mentioned you all by name, but we see down here zebradesigns.net. Just give us a quick commercial about the company.
Knock your bad self out.
Go right ahead.
We are a graphic design agency. This is Jaron. This is Dan. And we've been working in DC, in the DC area for 22 years. We do lots of nonprofits and things. We obviously work with Denise. We've sort of switched to the more digital side as well. So we're you can find us at zebradesigns.net.
But we do everything from print to digital to websites to everything. So if you ever have a design need, and thank you for the plug, Denise.
Thank you very much.
Anybody, hit us up. We would love it.
Hey, you can't work for the Washington Informer unless you have 3 more jobs. See you all later. Thank you. All righty. Okay. So, wow. I mean, talking about 3 jobs, we got a young person that we're working on right now. And I say working on because I think this is her first experience with the Black press as well. We are part of the Google News Initiative, and she's our Google Fellow. And Erica Johnson, I'm just so glad that you were able to join us as well.
Hello. Thank you. My name is Erica Johnson. I am the Google News Fellow for the Washington Informer, and I want to take this time and say thank you on their 56th anniversary for having or keeping opportunities available for young people like me, millennials who, especially during COVID, that might not have had an opportunity to do this work in journalism had it not been for them and their sustainable programs. I also appreciate the fact that they welcomed me into the family and provided this opportunity, but then also just being, focusing on Black news and Black people and staying true to who they are and the local community, the DMV area, which I also live in Virginia. So I appreciate the work that they've done. I appreciate them for taking me on. I especially appreciate their openness and honesty. So thank you.
I love Erica. She is a graduate of a master's degree program at American University, comes really equipped with a lot of digital and social media expertise. And so we're trying to tap all of that before those 10 weeks are over, which will be pretty soon, but I'm glad she's a part of the family. And of course, I mean, if it were, and I hate to put it that way, but if it were not for a fire, I think at Eastern Market,
Yes.
Khalid Najiallah would not have been a part of the Washington Informer. Now, I know you're in the midst of a juice fast, which
Yes, ma'am.
I'm amazed of, but it's working for you. But I could tell your energy's a little low. But that's why I'm explaining. Explaining it to our viewers because you've been drinking juice for 5 days.
Yes.
Hey, Khalid, how are you? Photographer extraordinaire.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you. Khalid left us to go work for the mayor of the District of Columbia and all those great folks, photos that you see of Mayor Bowser. Were you there before Bowser?
No, I came on. I left and went to the fire department under the Gray administration. Then Mayor Bowser hired me as her photographer shortly after.
Well, she knows a good
So
photographer when she sees one. So,
yes,
you
but
know.
it all started at the Washington Informer. So, and this, I mean, if it wasn't for you, your belief and giving me a chance, I wouldn't be where I'm at today in my career. So my hats always goes off to the Washington Informer because it's I mean it's my starting point. And from there, I've been able to take pictures all around the world, and my photojournalism skills definitely improved. I mean, you know, I had Victor Holt, Roy Lewis, Maurice, Rob Riley, and if I'm leaving somebody out, I apologize. Oh, John. You know, it was just when I came out, I was a young kid on the block, and being a young kid on the block, I got taught well. I got taught well. So then, you know, my writing enhanced under Chantelle, under Sansaray, Kevin, and under the late Denise Bonds, who stayed on me more than anyone. So I'm appreciative of the Washington Informer. You know, we've been informing the community 56 years. So I'm appreciative.
Now I'm over here looking at Chevry. I'm thinking because she said, "Let me say something to Khalid." I don't know what she wants to say, but
I forgot Shepard.
yeah.
No, Shepard.
Oh no, she did. She.
No. Because Chevry, when she came in, Chevry was a thorn, boy. But she's a
Tell me
hard
about
worker.
it.
Oh my gosh, she was a thorn. And I didn't mean to be sexist by just putting all the men in because we had a couple of great female photographers too, and I felt bad. So Chevry was, I mean, she came in and, you know, look at where she is now. She's producing, she's the editor. I mean, and it's just a great feel to be a part of such a. I didn't want to do mainstream or what they would call quote unquote mainstream press. I remember when I was a kid growing up in Chinatown, your office was there, and you know it was something that who knew I was going to go into journalism, but it was something I'm used to seeing black press, and you know, growing up with a grandmother, you know, if it wasn't you didn't get your news if you didn't get it from black press. So when I started off my career in journalism, I was like, I'm not going anywhere else but black press. And with your leadership, you allowed me to cover stuff. When I covered Jenna 6, you said, Khalid, if you're going down there, you know, on the ground. And that opened up the doors for me to shoot for other black papers as well. And I prided myself throughout my career. I think I shot for one main, well, not I think I shot for the Washington Times. That was it. No one, I would never go mainstream because it was about us and about telling our story. And you enable me to tell my story and tell the story of other people, especially the people I documented through the lens. So I'm thankful.
You know, one of the things that I always have to tell folks is that, you know, if you're good at what you do and you have a passion for it, then we have a place for you.
Yes.
And it wasn't like we had to make you a great photographer or a person who understood news or who understood what photojournalism was all about. You came with that.
Yes.
And so how do we utilize that skill? And so that's what I think is so phenomenal. I remember, and he's not here, but well, he is still here, but he switched over to medicine, but Akmal Muakil. I don't know if you ever met him, but Akmal shot with us when I first started here at the Informer full-time as a managing editor back in the 70s. And he is the one that set the stage for me to understand, what do you want out of photographers? And when I first met you and you called me, I don't know if was it from the fire at Eastern Market?
Yes, ma'am.
You called me about the fire. You said, look, I got photos at Eastern Market that nobody has. I'm like, this man will get up in the middle of the night and go get those photos. And I'm like, I got to figure out how to get him on board. So because you have the passion for what you do. And I felt as though we needed you as part of the family. So,
and I am so thankful. I mean, I'm only a phone call away. I am just, you know, I'm grateful every time I ride past the office. I just think if it wasn't for this office, I wouldn't possibly be where I'm at today. So, you know, and that's always, it's humbling to me to be a part of such a great organization and to see that you continuing 56 years strong. I don't have any wine to toast.
That's all right. No, you're
but
drinking
I have,
juice.
hold
Plenty
on,
of juice. What are you
I
drinking?
have coconut milk,
Coconut water. All
coconut
right.
water.
That's a good
So I will
deal.
toast with the coconut water, and I
And I'll
thank you
toast with
so
my
much.
wine. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you
And,
so much.
and last thing I just want to say is that, you know, through our relationship, I watched you birth your wife,
Yes,
birth two boys. Two
yes,
boys. So if you all don't follow Khalid on Facebook, follow him. He's got some great daddy stories. And, you know, it's like the new chapter of your life to see your
yes.
daddy stories.
My family has been so supportive. I mean, if it wasn't, I think family, I gotta give them a shout out because they were there, and especially when I was getting up, traveling, pursuing my passion. So, and my sons Yasir and Kadari. I mean, Yasir was born, and I think I had him on my. Well, not think I carried him on my chest
Yes, you did.
uh, from a month old till he was about 2. I couldn't carry him no more with me on my chest at every assignment. So my Kadari is actually that's him in the background. Kadari is actually a Washington Informer baby.
Baby.
So literally, because he came to the office, he was on my chest, he was everything, and you know, my 2 daughters, they were a part of
Yes,
the
they
Informer
were.
family.
Yes. Yes.
So it's always a great thing. I mean, you gotta get my family because I was traveling. I mean, if you called, if it was Genesis 6, if it was New Orleans, if it was Selma, you know, I was like, Miss Bonds, I'm on my way. And you was like, Khalid, we not, you know, we can't.
I'm
I
not
was like,
gonna
don't
pay for
worry about
this.
it. Yeah, said Miss Bonds, just don't worry about that. just tell me what the
Yes, you did.
deadline is for
Right.
the pictures, and I'm gonna make sure they're in. Especially for Genesis, we can't, we not. I didn't. I'm not worried about that aspect of it. I'm worried about the
Correct.
aspect of when is the deadline and how are we going to get these pictures in. So
Exactly.
I appreciate you so much.
Likewise, Khalid. And how long is this fast lasting?
It was over. I'm eating some foods, but I felt so good. I lost some weight. So,
Yes. Well,
so, so I felt
you've
so
lost
good.
weight before, and I thought that
Yes,
was good because you were carrying a lot of weight, and I guess in addition to those babies. So I'm
yes,
glad to see you slim down, and
yes.
that's we
I'm
need you.
almost back.
Okay.
So, but I've stopped it. Well, I'm stopping it uh, mid afternoon today. Then I'm gonna pick it back up on Tuesday for another
Okay.
3 days.
All right.
I
Well,
think
we'll
I'm,
talk
I think I'm
about
going
that a
too
little bit
fast,
more.
crazy. Yes.
I need some encouragement. That is Khalid Najiallah, photographer for the Washington Informer. And I want to thank those of you all. I know the show is going long. It's almost 2 hours. Anthony Tillman, thank you so much. I mean, he's another photographer, what do you call it? Photographer, videographer, and social media icon in the DC area who is a part of the Informer team. I don't know how we would do what we do without him. And then all of the rest of you all who are watching, we want to thank you for spending this time with us. And we're going to roll on to the end right now with our editor, the one that Serafina called the guy with the jewelry, Dominique Kevin McNair. Kevin, welcome to Win TV. Unmute yourself so we can hear you.
All right, you got me?
All right, there you are. There you are.
Yes.
Thanks for hanging in there. How are you?
I'm always tired, but I'm drinking. I'm drinking coffee today, not wine.
Okay, all right.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah. So, you know, we've heard some funny stories about you.
I know it's something. I got a little teary eyed, you know, with Serafina and Sam, but they're my children, so I'm cool with that. You know.
Yeah, and how your predecessor really worked with them, and you as well. And you know, you walked into this under Denise, if you could say
I
under
did.
Denise per se,
Yeah.
but she was our editor. It was so funny because you know, when we lost Denise, a lot of people, you know, it's interesting to have an editor and a publisher with the same name, right?
Yes. Right.
Denise R. Barnes and Denise Barnes. And even my father got confused about that years ago. You know, he was like, when did you start working for the Washington Times? I'm like, Daddy, that was the other Denise. but she ended up with us and spent many years and became sort of a great mentor and teacher, for the staff, including you. So, but here you are now filling her shoes and being a real critical part of our family. So tell me what it's like.
Well, I've been a reporter for 25 years now. And and 24 years been with the Black press, and I'm committed to that, until the end. I think about the mentors that have been a part of my life, Denise W. But I would just want people to understand, when I came on board, my mother was dying, and she died a year ago, and it's kind of emotional for me. But the Washington Informer helped me do my job, but to be faithful to what God tells us to do, to honor thy mother and father. I buried my father and then my mother, all while working for the Informer. And sometimes you drop some balls because you can't do but so much. But Chevy would help pick them up. Serafina would, Barrington would, Stacy would. And so we assist one another. I look at that word as a gift, not as a demeaning term, because we're really a family. And Denise has been there for me from day one. I've had an amazing run. I started as a contributing writer, and then staff writer, and then the managing editor, and then the editor. And I'm very proud of what we do, who we are. I want people to understand that you got to be persistent, you got to be prepared, you got to be passionate, and you've got to have a sense of you got to be ready for the pressure. It's not easy doing what we do. And every week is different. And that's why I like it so much. But we're a real family. We argue and all those things. That's what happens with families, I just gotten permission to argue with my publisher, and while being respectful. But look, I couldn't do anything besides what I do. I tell people all the time, I met Gwen Brooks when I was 10 years old, and I knew right then that I wanted to be a writer. And from Sam Logan in Michigan Chronicle to Janice Ware in Atlanta to the Reeves family in Miami, and then here. And Denise W. is my heart. I loved her, and she helped me realize I was not as good as I could be. And that's a real lesson, because I won awards and thinking I'm all that. She tore me up, like up and down. I was like, wait a minute, this woman's got some issues going on. But she was right. And that's why I do what I do with the young folks and the old folks too. I mean, we can do better because we have the ability. God has given us the ability to do better. And
Kevin,
so
I want to just bring people's attention to your weekly column that runs in the
thank you.
Informer. And I want people to know, I mean, you've been doing this now for a couple of years.
Yes.
And they're quite interesting, because they are from Kevin's perspective about things that matter to Kevin, but also matter to the readers. And I just wanted to make sure people know that this is you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I want to just say on that, this past year, people look at the paper and we have a banner that says winner of 5 SPJ awards. I got an award for one of my commentary. But what matters more to me is the fact that Sam got his first writing award. Anthony got his first award as a photographer. William got his first award as a writer. And then Stacy, of course, brought in the rear. And Stacy and I are used to getting awards, but we're only as good as your last byline. So when you get another one, you feel affirmed. But 5 of us came together under the auspices of the Washington Informer and Denise, you allowing us to do what we do. And for me, that's the most important accomplishment I've made in my life, because it shows the transition of the older and the younger. But I appreciate the shout on that. I hope people check me out, look at my website, dkevinmcnear.com. But I'm in it to win it. I'll probably be writing when I'm 100 and something years old, as long as Denise lets me do my thing. It's a true honor. I mess up sometimes, but that's being human. But my spirit is to make this the best we can be. And I put my staff, Chevy and all the rest, up against anybody, anywhere on the planet. We are just as good. And many times we're better. It's just that people want to minimize us because of the color. But don't get fooled. don't get it twisted. We are that daggone good. And it's only because Denise lets us be that good. She trusted me. And I love you for that, Denise. Mama, I love you and all of the people that work. But this sister is righteous, y'all. And that's why we are, because we cannot be anything but that. And it's been an honor and a privilege to be the editor. And we've got some more work to do. So I got to get back to doing, as they say, typing here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kevin. And I want to know, at least let folks know that we also, the Washington Informer also has a mascot. I don't know if she's nearby.
Oh, no, she's not. I don't know where she is. Baby girl, she's somewhere. Come here, baby girl.
Okay,
She may come in here real quick. But
Chevy
anyway.
said I should call her our mascot, but I am
Well,
calling
she
her
is.
mascot.
No, that's Chevy's hating. Okay. No, y'all seen my boxer. She's my mascot. And I just adopted another dog. We found a stray. So now I've got two, a big dog and a little dog.
Baby girl and Duchess. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
She's
So yeah,
a
we've seen baby girl in photographs. So and she does come to the office before COVID.
She does.
She
I
came.
have a picture, but I don't.
But that's okay. We're glad to have her.
Oh, wait. Here. I gotta show you. This is baby girl. That's her right there.
Yes, that's her. That's her.
That's
I need to get her a Washington Informant T-shirt. So
You do, yeah. But and even that, I'll tell you, even that with that, when I was bringing her along, because she was my mother's support dog, so I had to keep her with me, and they were real cool about letting her come in the office. And now everybody asks about her. Sometimes they don't ask about me. They want to know where's baby girl. It's all good.
Kevin, thank you so much. Thank you. And yeah, we got another paper to put out, but I'm so glad. There are so many other people that are part of our staff that we didn't mention today. And I just do want to give a shout out to John Freitas, who covered sports for us, a photographer for many years. He's one of our staff members who was stricken by COVID and had to relocate, and is not really shooting now, but I never say never. And so we might see John again with his photographs, but we want to give a shout out to him. And also, as some mentioned, Maurice Fitzgerald, Mr. Robert Ridley, Sansaray Tate, and you all may know that so many others are still in the area. Victor Holt, our former, some of our former editors. I mean, everybody. Rahel Tesfamariam, who is now married, and we would have wanted to have had her on the show as well, but she's about to. I've seen some pictures of her on Facebook, and I know she's about to become a mama. And so I'm really excited about that because I knew her when. And so everybody else. So, folks, thank you for supporting the Washington Informer. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you, Chevry, for bringing this show together. How come you're not joining me? She won't join me. That's awful. But anyway, thank you, Chevry Lassiter, for making this show possible. Thank you all for watching. And we're going to end now because thanks to you all and being a part of this program, we're now getting sponsorship for the show, which we're excited about. And so this segment of the program and others, we've got Verizon, we've had AARP, and we have Pepco. And so we're going to end the show with a word from Donna Cooper, the woman we're so proud of, is the vice president of Pepco, to give us some closing remarks. So again, cheers. We're going to work on 57. All righty.
I want to extend our congratulations on 50 years of excellence to the Washington Informer. For well over a half of a century, you have been sharing stories, sharing images through your newspaper. And one of the things that we wanted to recognize and note is that this particular platform that I'm participating on this evening is really a demonstration as to how you evolve and ensure that you are continuing to educate and get information to communities. WIN TV is to be recognized as well as commended as another platform that you are utilizing to ensure that communities are educated, informed, as well as made aware of many of the critical issues that continue to evolve within our society. I wanted to share with you as well We are honored because we have been a partner of the Washington Informer for a significant portion of that time. You have been a major vehicle in ensuring that we're able to stay connected as well as communicating with our customers. So wanting to recognize your commitment and really wanting to share for Denise, continuing the rich and the long-term history of your parents, and continuing to have a newspaper in this particular area that ensures inclusivity, sharing the stories, sharing the images, and presenting a perspective that is not always captured. And most importantly, I wanted to note, you have done something that is really challenging in the context that there are very few, as you know, African American newspapers that are still in existence today, or any type of news medium. So wanting to recognize your commitment to ensuring that African Americans continue to have a voice, that their stories are shared, as well as their perspectives. So you are to be commended, your team and your staff, and recognized. So we're honored to have been a partner and looking forward to another 50 plus more years. Thank you for all that you're doing. Congratulations on 56 years. Thank you.